for this new chapter. I'm very excited to be talking about this special one, a really close one. We were discussing with Katia and the guest that something that encouraged the Two Goals platform. It was meeting new people, meeting new profiles, getting to find out about these women who were exactly like us, striving to enter the industry, to do more projects around the women's football and women in football. So this is really, really special, and this is why we chose this one. And that said, we're happy to welcome Karla Valdez, a Mexican colleague, a football practitioner and enthusiast, a storyteller, and the host behind FanFest podcast. Karla, it is a pleasure to have you here. And if you can, could you please tell us a bit about yourself for those who haven't met you, and where this passion about football started?
Absolutely. Thank you for your words, Maria Laura and Katia. Nice to meet you also. Well, it's a pleasure to be here in Two Goal Podcast that have more than 40 episodes. Congratulations also. Great friends and colleagues that I admire that have been in this podcast. For example, it's Eluna, Mariana Gutierrez, Marely Flores, Tatiana, Javi, and well, now it's my turn. Hope to be a good episode. So, I'm Karla. As you said, I love to practice football, not soccer. That maybe Katia will said that soccer. Yeah, but football, and I'm a dreamer and crazy about this sport. Also enjoy all this network that we do in every step we do, and I love these things all around this big sport.
That your words just match what I was about to take the bridge for the next question, because everything that we saw about you and heard about you is that you are very passionate about the sports, the industry, and football or soccer in particular. But you are crazy about that for sure. Your passion started, as we heard somewhere, with your grandpa, right? And with a couple of photos on about Mexico 70, right? So this is something that I love. That's why I'm talking about that, because I'm a football romantic as well. And you started with that, follow the pathway and the passion through football. You're playing right now, but one of the things that you're very passionate about as well is to be a volunteer. Maybe a lot of us, when we think about football industry, we think about working on that, like financially as well. This is important to say, but you're dedicating your life through the volunteer pathway and the other pathways Maria Laura talked about. So you're passionate about it. So your adventure of volunteering started at Rio 2016, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You did your homework very well.
One of the first, so it was the first one.
We prepare, you guys. We prepare. We are serious with this podcast.
This was only just for you to know that we prepared. But you started at Rio 2016. So you are passionate about this. Why you took this first step to volunteer, and what you are trying to achieve first and now, if you can say it, and how important you think it is to volunteer for a sporting event.
Yeah, well, my goal was to stay close to sports, but above all, to be a game maker. I love those two words, game maker. And because I want to be part of the organizing committee of the best sporting events. So as you said, the paper or the role of the volunteers, it's very important, because I have always said that the volunteers are the heroes without a cape. Volunteers are the soul of every sporting event. Let's remember that volunteers do not get paid for their work. On the other hand, they dedicate their time and their resources to serve others. So it's a very interesting role because you can be in the spot or in the stage where all the magic is happening.
Katia, let me just jump a bit here and ask Karla, because I mean, you mentioned that you really wanted to take part of this sporting events, and this was huge. But there is something about your history that needs to be highlighted, is that it wasn't always successful, right? Like we heard in one of the episodes of your podcast that it was a difficult process, that you got some no's before getting the final acceptance into becoming a volunteer. I think that's something that we tend to forget. Like maybe because it's a volunteering thing, you will be always chose. So could you please tell us a bit about this experience of being rejected at first?
Yeah, as you said, I have been rejected in volunteer roles, in different of job offers. So a no is something that is constant in my life, but I'm bigger than a no. That's why I continue be very how do you say terca or necia?
Yeah, like perseverance.
Yeah, absolutely. It didn't
Stubborn actually.
stubborn. Okay, yeah, that's a word. So the first thing that you need to know is that you can apply to every sporting event. That's the first step. In general, we don't know that we can apply. So every sporting event needs volunteers. So you have first step to apply. That's the first thing. And then you have to continue in some steps or some interviews, some lessons that you have to continue. But yes, for example, until now, I haven't volunteered in a women's football event because I was rejected in Canada 2015, in France 2018 and 2019, because in 2018 I think was the sub-20 tournament. So, but well, in contrast, I had the opportunity to volunteer in another different big events. For example, as you said, in 2016, the Olympic Games, and in 2019, the Champions League final. So it was a big event. The Pan American Games in Lima, 2019, and the Club World Cup also in 2019 in Qatar. So that journey began in Rio 2016, and I think that the jewel in the crown or the top of the mountain was last year, 2022, that I had the opportunity to volunteer in the Qatar World Cup last year. So it was a long journey, but I'm sure that I enjoyed a lot.
That's what I'm asking you next, but just to throw back here what you said, it's important to get the no's. I think I didn't met anyone that had always yes in interviews, and we always learn through the no's. But it's really interesting that you got rejected to all women's World Cup or women's events in this case, because usually they're the events that may need more or not, because they were smaller. Now I hope there will not be any more, but this is interesting, and it's important. Maybe if we all know, but if a lot of people apply for volunteering, maybe this will be bigger than ever. Let's see if they open the doors. I hope so. Let's push FIFA if you're here in this place. Do something. Let's talk about the World Cup last year. And before that, you were at Qatar before the World Cup, as you said, for the Club World Cup. You're a lucky charm for Liverpool. Thank you very much, because you were on the Champions League final in Madrid, and you were on the Club World Cup, and we won. So please come back when we'll be for sure in another final. you are invited. Yeah, you should be the guest because you bring luck. And you were there before in Qatar for the Club World Cup again, and for the World Cup now last year December. The thing is, we have here a lot of questions. One, it can be regard, or you can point out if you want, Qatar, the issues around the country. You were there first for a smaller event. It was a worldwide event, but a smaller one. And after for the biggest one in the world. So did you had some issues behind it? Like, did you had some questions before applying? We know you were as a fan as well. You had the two perspectives, the working part, the fan part. I heard about that you were at the Mexico Argentina, right? And that was really loud. If you want to tell us a bit about it. But the main questions here is like, for you to give us the fan perspective and the volunteer perspective at the same time, and the whole thing about Qatar. If you had questions before, if you have some issues, if you like waited over there, should I apply or not? You had these questions?
The questions that I had before it was like, the only question that I had was how I will going to pay it. Because the first thing that we know,
tough one.
is very, very expensive. So that's the first thought that I have. And well, my dream was bigger than any other questions that I had. I had very clear that I want to be in a World Cup. So I tried to draw the path applying to the Club World Cup in 2019, to the Arabian Cup in 2021, and finally I will go to the World Cup, or I make the path easier to be there in the final step, I said. And also I travel with an open mind, because I travel alone. So also is another thing that maybe get trouble to some people, but I didn't have any problem. I found a city that, first of all, has a lot of money, that is investing in sports in general, and it's trying to change their perception to the world, because they try to do the things different. They try to take attention in every detail. So I think it was an amazing World Cup, an amazing event, and also because this event had special ingredients, because it was the last World Cup with 32 teams, and in an special also World Cup that will play in the same place, that the teams doesn't have to travel a lot, and as that ingredients, I think that will be very special. The result was all the things that we saw. And yeah, I had the opportunity to be in 10 matches, all the Mexican matches. Obviously, sadly, the dream doesn't last too much. I had the opportunity to scream a goal of my national team until the third game. So also was a difficult thing. Well, but I had the opportunity to saw Messi, to saw Ronaldo, and another national teams that make history in this World Cup, but also in these events. I like to see how the fan is enjoying the game, how everything is around one sport, one thing, how the world is together in what match or in one event. So I think sports are special, and football is special.
Let me just say one thing. For sure, you celebrated more than Maria Laura.
Oh, low block. Oh my God. This is why today I'm wearing the jersey from the
I can say the same next.
team.
I can say the same this year for the women's, because it will be the other way around. So I'm the only one. Okay, here.
You're the only one that had a good chance to do something.
I mean, this still hurts, you know? I mean, even though you're trying to make it better, I mean, I'm still crying on my dreams about Colombia not going to the World Cup, but just to return on a very positive note, Karla, you mentioned something about the fans. And for those who are not familiar with your work, I mean, you're always creating content around fans. I mean, you have the FanFed podcast, you have Somos Locales Femenino in Mexico. And I think this is really, I mean, it's really key because we all have our communication platforms like Two Goals, and we have our type of audiences. But tell us a bit about why do you like the fans' perspective? Like, why are you always connecting the passion from us? I mean, from us who are watching the game, from us who are behind this scene of the actual game, and if so, could you please tell us about your current projects? I mean, as well, like what are you working on, and how maybe if you have something that you learned from your lax experience, and how are you connecting this with your platforms these days?
Yeah, well, I think that the main thing is talking about emotions. Fans are equal like emotions, because in all the tribune, we can be very happy, we can be mad, we can be sad in the same match in only 90 minutes. Yeah, that's why I love the part of the fans, the stories, and everything that is around the fan, because we have a lot of resources that are talking about the players or the media or etc. And I like the fans perspective. And yes, as you said, I have FanFest podcast. That is a podcast that is in YouTube, Spotify, and any platform that you want to look for it. And we especially talk about the story of fans. How, why is the why you support any team. We have episodes of lucha libre, of football, American football, basketball, F1, WWE. So that's in general. We talk about all the sports. And Somos Locales is a new project that is starting. We talk about the Mexican women's football, but also in the perspective of the fans, that what happened in the tribune, because I think that's a special element of women's football, because in the tribune you have you can see families together, and that is a special thing that no in all the sports you can enjoy it. So families together, safe space, also also cheaper, because also it helps. And it's with my best friend that we are doing this project about Somos Locales, and follow us in Instagram. Yeah, yes, we are trying all to share all the good vibes that are around women's football, and especially Liga MX Femenina.
You have 2 new followers, definitely, at least from my side, and then we'll see if Katia. I mean, I'm not talking to her after this podcast probably, but no, yeah. I mean, you mentioned something really huge about the fans in women's football and in women's sports, and that's really important to try and build up the importance of the industry. Kind of like try and understand these new audiences. How can we capture them? How can we sell them this product? How can we make them feel connected? And I think that's something which is completely different from the men's side. And we are having the opportunity now to build these new profiles and to kind of like bring the newer generations who were not necessarily connected to men's sports. So I mean that's really important to understand and research about the fans' perspective.
Exactly. And this is one of the things, just to add to that. Of course, in America, it's different, although it's a community and everything is built through a community. But right now, the league is in a professional level that we have both machines running. So the community machine and the league machine and the closed machine, or everything is running. But for example, talking about the historical perspective, the clubs that are historical, like 100 years of a club, we're talking about, for example, I can give the example of Mexico, as you're a representative of that. But in England, for example, what they are achieving, everything started, it was through the FA on an official level, but the community building, everything that was starting in the social media, it was through the fans. And right now we still have some fan accounts they started like 10 years ago, and they built everything through, like, this pathway of the league was built through them. I remember a lot of I was following the FAWSL through some fan accounts and not the official account, because they shared much more than the official account. So the fans are like a stone here, but a huge stone to have another step. And it's important, the work that you're doing. It's the right way to go and the right pathway. So keep it going, because it will. You're planting the seeds. You will collect the fruits later on.
Thank you, thank you. And you say a key point: community. Community are not only fans. Community are fans, players, coaches, and all the people that are involved in this sport.
Yeah, this is the thing. I have to say this. I went to the NWSL with an European perspective, living in the European perspective. Of course, I knew what was the NWSL, but it was like an open-minded, because everything's a community there, and we're talking about a huge country. Like every state, or each state is like in Europe. It's not like that. It's a lot of countries, and we need to understand. They built everything through the community pathway. And I'm talking about not only about the clubs, I'm talking about the fan perspective. Just that it's a community, and you can see this. And we need to, we have, I always say in this podcast, we have the advantage to manage and to build the women's game right now. If we're not doing this right now, I don't know how or and when we will do it. But
And we are on time.
We are on time. We are on time. Some countries are far ahead, but we can catch them. I'm saying this as a Portuguese perspective, not the NWSL one, but we can. And Mexico is way ahead of others, I have to say. And that's why I want to ask you the next question, and connects the NWSL and Mexico. You are with a beautiful shirt with Angel City. Follow the club, follow the league. And we just hit 500,000 on Instagram today. So yeah.
Please send us one. Please send one.
But this is the things, through these clubs, and Angel City started playing last year, and here you are with a shirt. This is the proof that we can sell merchandise. This is a product. This can
absolutely. And it was the match against Tigres Femenil. So
that's the question. That's the question, because you have a lot of partnerships now with Tigres Femenil. You played with Mexico against Angel City, which is very important to say here. It was a national team against a club, a new club in the world, let's say this.
Yeah, the Copa Angelina.
Exactly. I was about to say exactamente. Exactly. And not only Angel City, but other clubs in the US. And Sicora just went to Mexico to play against Rayadas. And if we can go ahead of NWSL, there are a lot of partnerships that the clubs are doing this, because I think Club America is doing something with Bayern, right? Bayern
And
04.
all rain.
Oh,
Yes.
exactly as well. So a lot, but especially on in the American side, there is here a connection. We have a lot of Mexicans on the on the NWSL, really good ones, really good content to the side. Thank you, Bombi and and company, because
And
it's
Diana Ordóñez and Camberos.
yeah, exactly. So this is the thing. Why do you think it is so important to have this connection through the clubs in the league? Or in supposedly, for me, it's the best league in the world. I would say supposedly the best league in the world, but this is a professional league, a fully professional league with team. We want expansion. We will expand now, and we are already talking about that for 2 years ahead. So this is the thing. We are growing. There's no way to stop us right now. We're in the right pathway. Why this is so important for example, for countries like Mexico to have these partnerships and this experience. And for you, tell us about your experience in LA and what you felt and what you lived in that stadium against the amazing Angel City fans.
Yeah, well, why? Because we are together. The both countries are together, and we are in the same confederation. And if one league grow, the other one also need to grow, because also talking about the Mexican national team had both markets, the Mexican and the US. So in general, we are connected in a lot of touch points. So that's the first thing that I will say. And well, the experience in LA was amazing, but also I have to say that every single match in the Liga MX it's amazing. Also, last year in the final, America against Tigres, we had the record of 52,000 of people in Azteca Stadium. So also was an amazing thing. Women's football is growing step by step, and again we have to do this all together. That's the point, that's the thing, together. And also because in 2026 US and Mexico and also Canada are doing together the World Cup, and in 2027 try until now we are trying to be the host country of the women's World Cup. So this is not these things are not actions like in short term. These are actions in long term, and again working together. That's the point.
And it's not a tick the box, right? It's something that we always say in women's
Yes.
football, it's a tick the box. It's not a tick the box. And exactly that. And just to say, if you look at the NWSL, for example, this year we started content in 3 languages, which shows you how important this is for the league and for the clubs and for the community. And that's the whole circle. It's
Exactly.
around and around and around. It's not a tick the box, and it's something that we're planting the seeds. We'll collect the fruits in a couple of years.
Yeah, we are already collecting the fruits. I mean, like Karla mentioned, for example, the records that are, I think in every country we now have these big records. Like we have big numbers, we have matches who are becoming like this clásicos who no one wants to lose. But I think that there is something important about closing this chapter. Sadly, Karla, we're almost at the end of the episode, but we need to close on a positive note, which is that we are all understanding in a way what kind of things, what kind of strategies are perfect for our models. Like we can learn a lot about Mexico, but we can learn also about the United States. There are some other experiences in Europe as well. At the end of the day, I think that we need to keep with the message about the alliances. Let's try and find those stakeholders who are interested in building the game, into delivering a nice product, into behaving properly, into teaching the newer generations that there is something there that needs to be treated correctly, that needs to be treated professionally as well. I think we have focused a lot in most of our, I will say, just Latin American countries and South American countries. We have focused a lot into fighting against those who are not interested into building this new product, and we need to use that energy into finding those who are. These new brands, these new partnerships, I think that's really important, and I will definitely end that with that message: the importance of identifying those who are really interested into building the women's game.
Yeah, and also, for example, the slogan in Somos Locales is "You have to live it," because women's football, you have to live it. You don't have to judge. You have to go and make your own judge.
Exactly.
Definitely, Karla. So, as I was mentioning, we are ending this episode, so sad, but please tell us a bit about if you want to share a bit about your information, let's all go and follow all these platforms around Karla. And it was a great pleasure having you here, definitely. And we hope that we can keep having Mexico guests. They are always been so loyal to those podcasts. Thank you for that, Mexico.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything. It was a pleasure. Sorry about my excellent English.
It was perfect.
I tried my best, and well, this year we have the Women's World Cup. It's a complicated topic here in Mexico, but we are looking forward.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Karla.
Thank you.